Holy pandemic, Batman! Welcome back to the channel. Today we are solving the world's pandemic issues in this game. Today we have 4 different outbreaks going across the globe that we need to find the cure for, and eradicate if possible. So today I'm going to be telling you how to play, how to set up, and how to win at Pandemic, our first cooperative game on the channel. So Pandemic is a cooperative game in which everyone takes up one of the 7 roles in the game. This game plays 2 to 4 players. There are expansions that allow you to add more characters, but for today and for this, we're just talking about the base game, which is 2 to 4. Everyone at random will choose one of the characters. So we're going to pick just randomly 4 characters and we just play with. For this game, we will be playing with the scientist, the medic, the operations expert, and the contingency planner. So I'll kind of explain what each of those 4 do later on into the game, but for now we're going to look at the setup on how to get this game set up. So first things first, you will pull out the board. You will take 4 of these little looks like potion vials, and you will put them onto beakers, maybe onto their spaces down here on the bottom of the board. Put those face down for now onto their spaces. Next thing you'll do is you'll take this outbreak marker and you'll put it on 0. You'll put one of the research stations on Atlanta where the CDC is. You will take this little circle thing here, this infection rate marker, and put it on the furthest one here. Then you will decide how hard you want this game to be. There are 3 levels in this game. There is introductory, standard, and heroic. And what that means is there are what are called epidemic cards. Now, depending on which level you're playing with is how many of these you'll have in. So for our setup, we're going to play with a standard setup. So we're going to play with 5, 4 for introductory, 6 for heroic. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay out these 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, putting the other one away. You are going to take up the rest of this this player deck here, which has a card for every city, and it also has some event cards. But what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle these up and deal some cards to each player. Now, depending on how many players you have or how many cards you get, if you're playing with 4 players as we are, you only get 2 cards. If you're playing with 3, you get 3. With 2, you get 4. So with 4 here, everyone's going to get 2 cards. The rest of these are going to be evenly distributed across these epidemic decks. This is to ensure that the epidemic cards are pretty spread out, and so you don't just get boom, 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 bombarded by 3 in a row. Once that is done, you will shuffle up each individual section and then stack them up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to infect the world. We are going to flip a total of 9 cards. The first 3 will get 3 cubes on them. The next 3 will get 2, and the next 3 will get 1. So we're going to flip those and distribute the cubes. First one is Essen, which is blue. You will match the color that you're putting the cubes into. Here. Then we have Moscow, which is the black disease. Moscow up here. Then we will flip New York. Then we'll you will put down a marker that matches the color that is on the card for each player. Now we are ready to begin the game. So, on a player's turn, this is what happens. If you look in the bottom right corner of this board here, it explains everything that you do on a turn in broad strokes. Because the first thing it says is do 4 actions, and there's a lot of different things you can do for actions. The second thing is draw 2 cards, which that just means drawing 2 cards from here and hoping it's not an epidemic card. Next thing is resolve any epidemics if we do pull one of those. And the next one is discard down to 7 cards. Your hand limit size is 7 cards, and you cannot exceed that. If you do at this point, you would relinquish cards. And the last thing is infect cities. So the infection marker right now is at 2. So you would flip over 2 new cards to infect more cities. Now you notice that the cards that we did pull, the 9 cards, are still here in the discard pile. That's important to know because you know that these won't pull to infect further until an epidemic happens. So, as far as actions go, on your turn you can do 4 different actions, which sounds like a lot, but really the first action is movement. So if you wanted to move here, that's one of your actions. That's how quickly these actions go. 4 actions, but there's a lot to do in a turn. So, first thing is just moving. Moving from there to there, that is 1 action. The next one is a direct flight. So you have these cards in your hand, right? So, let's use, for instance, this card here, Manila. So what that means is, if I wanted to, I could discard the card Manila to basically have a direct flight. So if I use that, then I would move myself all the way to Manila. That's 1 action. However, whenever I do that, I relinquish this card and it is now no longer in my hand. This is important because of something coming up in a minute that I'll explain. Let's say I was here, then I could use this card since it matches the city that I'm in and go anywhere on the board. That is called chartering a flight. A direct flight lets you move to the city that's on it. A chartered flight lets you go from here to anywhere else as long as you're in the city that matches the card name. Next thing is shuttle flight. So we have here a research station that starts off in Atlanta. You can build research stations elsewhere in the world. So let's say there was one here in Istanbul. Then what you could do is, if you were here, you could just take 1 action and move straight to there. It's like a way to build checkpoints across the world. You can basically move between these freely. It takes 1 action to move there. That's all movement actions. Now we do have other things. You can build research stations. In order to do that, let's say, for example, I was here in Manila. I could use Manila's card and build a research station. So I could discard that card and then build a research station here for us to be able to move interchangeably between these 2 locations. Treat disease. This is one that you'll probably do a lot of in this game, especially trying to prevent outbreaks. So whenever you move to a city that has cubes in it, you can spend 1 action removing a single cube. However, if that disease is cured, you will remove all of them. Next thing is discovering a cure. So what that means is you have to be at a research station, and in your hand you have to have 5 city cards that match the same color. So for instance, if I had Manila, then I would need to have 4 other red cards and be at a research station to cure that disease. And in order to win this game, we need to cure all 4 diseases. So it's important to keep on to cards of the same color because you need to work towards that goal. And that's where, using this to charter a flight or using this to build a research station, that's where it becomes tricky because you're burning cards that you do need to cure with. So that's what cure is, and that's how you win the game, is you do that 4 times with the right amount of cards. However, let's say player 2 has a card that I desperately need to get. What would happen is, let's say Manila, for another example. Manila. Let's say it was Manila that I need to get. Then if me and that player met up in the city that is on this card, then we could do an action called Share Knowledge. And what that means is you can give or take the card that matches that city that you're in. So on my turn, I could give it to him or I could take it from him, depending on who had it, We just have to both be in the same city. And that's all your actions. That's everything you can do in the game. Sounds like a lot, but it's allows you a lot of versatility when moving around the board because time is not your friend in this game. There are many ways in which you can lose this game. One is if you run out of cubes of a certain color. Let's say you keep putting red onto the board and you run out of red. Then once you run out, game over. That's of any color, not all the colors, just 1 color. Another way you can lose is if this draw deck goes to 0 and there's no more cards to draw and you need to draw, you lose the game. Third way, there's an outbreak meter here. If this thing gets all the way down to the bottom and hits the 8th level, that is the end of the game. So, lots of ways to lose and a lot of preventative things you need to do to make sure you're working diligently towards eradicating these illnesses, these diseases. There are 7 roles in the game. Each of them does a little bit different. And in a lot of games, the roles allow you to bend the rules a little bit. So, for instance, with the scientists, normally you need 5 cards to cure. Scientist only needs 4. That's their only thing they do. But it's very powerful because they help develop cures. Medic is a very powerful role in this game. Whenever they treat diseases, normally you only remove 1. However, they remove all 3 from their location. And also, if the disease has been cured, then whenever they move into the city, they take out everything. They don't have to spend an action removing cubes. They just walk in and everything's cleaned. Then we have the operations expert. As an action, you can build a research station in the city you're in. Like normally it costs, you have to have the card that matches where you are. Operation expert just builds it. Also, they can move to any city by discarding a card as long as they're at a research station. So they could just discard any card to move wherever they want to on the board. Next thing here is contingency planner. As an action, you can take a discarded event card and add it to your hand, which is great because the event cards are pretty powerful in this game and there's not a whole lot of them. So being able to remove them from the game is a perk for sure. Or be able to reuse them in the game is a perk for sure. However, once you've played it once, then you remove it from the game. That ensures that you're not going to pick it up a third time. Also, you can only hold 1 event at a time whenever you're using this ability. The other 3 we're not playing with in this game are quarantine experts. This is a very powerful role as well because they prevent disease cubes, placements, and outbreaks in the city you are in and all cities connected to it. So if that person was here in Bogota, or Bogota, they're able to prevent 6 cities from getting any cubes. Very powerful in this game. That's all they do, but it's very powerful, like I said. Next thing is researcher. So normally you have to meet up in a city to share information and give cards. The researcher says, nah, we'll just meet anywhere. I'll give you whatever you want. So you can meet up in any city and give any city card you want. It's very nice, very lucrative, very powerful. Next thing is dispatcher, which is probably my favorite role in this game. With this, you're able to move another player's pawn as if it was yours. So let's say you really needed to move someone pretty far along the board here. Then you could take your turn and move them 4 turns before it even gets to their turn. You're able to just move them one at a time. Also, if let's say you need to get someone's over here in Kolkata, and you need to move someone over there very quickly, you can just take them and move them over there. Granted, you need permission from the player to do so, but this is a cooperative game, so we should be working together anyways. So that's all the roles. Like I said, very powerful, and they really control what you do as a part of the team. So what happens next is on a player's turn, they will do 4 actions. Let's say we're starting out with orange here. Orange might spend 1 action moving here, 2 actions moving here, 3rd action clearing out all of this. So that way we don't have to worry about an outbreak, which is something we should talk about. Outbreaks are bad in this game. Very, very bad. If you have too many of them, you lose the game outright. Also, outbreaks spread cubes and spread diseases like crazy. They outbreak. They break their barriers. So let's say later on we have a card pulled from here, and let's say it's Essen. Let's say Essen is pulled from here at the end of the turn. Then what that means is because there's 3 cubes here, it outbreaks. If you have less than that, then you just add 1 cube to it. Let's say Jakarta was pulled, and you would just add 1 to it. However, because it's Essen and there's already 3, which is the max, then what happens is a single blue cube spreads to everywhere it's connected to. So Milan gets 1, Paris gets 1, London gets 1, and St. Petersburg also gets 1. And that's bad because it's a lot of work you have to do to go in and clean all of that. Also, it really does a number on the number of cubes you have, because if you run out of cubes, you lose the game. So these things kind of start piling on top of each other if you are not careful and not paying attention. However, that has not happened yet. So what we're going to do now is he did his 1, 2, 3 actions There, he's got one more action. He can go ahead and move to London and start moving towards his next destination. So now he's done all 4 actions. Next thing he'll do is he'll draw 2 cards. And the first card he draws, of course, is an epidemic. So we're starting off not great. With an epidemic, the cards explain what they do on them. They're all the same, but they have 3 steps. First thing is increase. So what you'll do is you'll move this infection rate marker over 1. First couple are all 2s, so it doesn't really change anything as far as that goes. But it moves you closer to higher numbers. And what these numbers mean are how many cards you pull from the infection deck. So 2 is not too crazy, but we start getting up to 4 cards being pulled on every single person's turn. It gets out of hand really quickly. So that's the first thing that happens. Second thing is infect. And what that means is you're going to pick up the infection deck, take the bottom card from it, and then you're going to add 3 cards, 3 cubes to this. So this card is Lagos. And Lagos is now going to go into the discard pile. And this is the part that's bad. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take these cards and you're going to shuffle them up. All your discarded piles, all the cards that have definitely pulled, either at the beginning of the game or since, are all now here. These cards are all going to shuffle and they're going to go back on top of the deck, which is not fun. However, that was the first card they draw, so they will draw 1 more card. Now, next thing is discard down 7 cards. They don't have 7 cards. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to infect cities. So we're going to pick the top 2 cards from here, since we're still at the 2 on the infection rate. So the first one is Osaka, which is here. It gets 1 cube. And the next one is Baghdad. And Baghdad will gain 1. So now we have multiple cities on the brink of breaking out. So we have 4 cities that have 3. If any of those 4 cities are drawn, then they are an outbreak and disease spreads everywhere, and this outbreak marker goes down 1. So basically, this game will continue. People will go around taking their turns, moving around the cities, and they'll keep trading cards with one another until finally someone has, until you have 5 cards matching of a color. At that point, you will go to one of these research stations, and there you will turn in those 5 cards and you will cure disease. Once you've done that 4 times, once for each disease, the game is over, you have won. However, there is sort of a post-game thing to do. If you cured it, you've won the game. However, you can choose to eradicate the diseases as well if you'd like. And that means going into the cities and getting rid of all the cubes from the board. And that's sort of a way to win big time, you know. That is Pandemic. I'm sure you have plenty of questions. There are events in here that allow you to do different things. Each of these cards do different things. Each of the event cards do different things to help you out with maneuvering the board and stuff. And each of the different roles each do different things that really help out with curing the world of these 4 diseases. But that's Pandemic. Can you stop the pandemic? Find out if we can tomorrow on our playthrough. If you have any questions, please get in the comments section. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let us know if you have played this game, enjoyed this game. It's probably my favorite cooperative game out there, and I'm really looking forward to playing it with friends and you guys seeing that. And we'll catch you next time, because that's the way we roll.